Yugoslavia. He was ready to play a pivotal role on the world stage. Emerging from obscurity into the global spotlight, in 1945, the victorious Tito was a mysterious figure. Rumors abounded that Tito stood for Third International Terrorist Organization, or that the Yugoslav leader was, in fact, a woman. While foreigners struggled to divine the man and his intentions, he was busy consolidating his power.
I said, I hoped that he would allow, in addition to the communist parties, other independent political parties to be reestablished. He thought for a moment, looked at me, and I thought I detected a little bit of a smile on his face. He said, well, of course, that would be possible. We could allow other political parties to be organized, but what would they do? Who would they represent? The Communist Party represents the people.
Tito did not kill for revenge or pleasure. But when his power or that of the Communist Party was threatened, he was more than willing to take extreme measures.
A number of the potential dissidents, a number of those who were still attached to the monarchy, a number of those who were excessively nationalist from Tito's point of view were executed or imprisoned. In the early years after the war, it was a fairly brutal regime.
In the West, Tito was considered an ogre, second only to Stalin. Yugoslavia was popularly referred to as Soviet Satellite Number 1. Then, in 1946, the Cold War threatened to grow hot.
The Yugoslavs suddenly shot down 2 American aircraft, which they claimed had violated Yugoslav airspace. And this caused an enormous amount of controversy in the United States, with newspaper editorials demanding that we take action. There was even some talk of war. But that simply contributed to the American view of Tito as another ruthless communist dictator.
Blinded by anti-communist fervor, the West failed to recognize the tensions between Belgrade and Moscow. From the first, Tito and Stalin had forged an uneasy alliance.
When he first went to see Stalin, he already then wore a marshal's uniform, and Stalin at that time was also marshal. And Stalin sort of looked at this imposter. He immediately took a disliking to this man, obviously feeling that this man is not going to be obedient like everyone else, which he wasn't.
In the immediate post-war years, Tito embarked on an ambitious plan for economic self-sufficiency. Stalin insisted that all of Eastern Europe contribute to Soviet reconstruction and Soviet welfare. To make matters worse, in 1946, the Russians sent a film crew to Yugoslavia to shoot a propaganda film about Yugoslav resistance during the war. Tito was annoyed to learn that the script portrayed him as playing a minor role. He was infuriated to discover that the crew members were actually Russian spies.
They were holding terrific parties for the Yugoslav communists, and lots of drink, lots of girls and things, and then afterwards trying to blackmail them and get them to work for the Russian Secret Service.
Such provocations only made Tito assert greater independence, something Stalin could not abide. In 1948, he ordered Tito to immediately form a federation with Russian-controlled Bulgaria, an obvious ploy to add Yugoslavia to Stalin's empire.
Stalin expects Tito to simply submit. Stalin felt that his power was overwhelming. He supposedly told a visitor that he would wave his little finger and Tito would fall.
For the 56-year-old Tito, breaking with Stalin was fraught with loss and danger. Russia was the birthplace of the International Communist Revolution, the crusade to which he had devoted the last 25 years. And he knew that anyone who defied Stalin faced a very short life expectancy. No matter the risk, Tito decided he could not relinquish his country's independence. When he refused to submit, Stalin cast him out of the Comintern, the alliance of international communism. Under enormous strain, Tito's health began to fail. Locked in desperate battle, he turned to his fellow Yugoslavians, asking for their faith and support in his time of peril.
It took a great deal of courage on behalf of the Yugoslavs, but I think that Stalin was also allowing his megalomania to get the better of him in his belief that he could conquer this person. Tito, after all, had fought very hard for the liberation of Yugoslavia during the war, and he was no more willing to submit to Stalin's demands than he had been to submit to the German occupation.
The Kremlin unleashed its massive propaganda machine on Tito, labeling him everything from a fascist to a murderer. His communist neighbors, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, and Poland, suspended trade.
Tito and Yugoslavia are very much left out in the cold. The economy absolutely collapses. Tito and the communist leadership can whistle in the dark to give themselves courage, and they are very, very brave, but they are totally isolated.
Tito and his country were demons in the West, outcasts in the East. Stalin ordered the Hungarian army to train for an invasion of Yugoslavia. They massed on the border, preparing for a lightning strike on Belgrade. As 1948 came to a close, Tito's Yugoslavia teetered on the edge of destruction. The 1948 break between Tito and Stalin shocked the West. Certain that Tito was completely loyal to Moscow, many Americans